How's everyone going? We are 9 and 4 more, where we talk Jaguar football and other news around the National Football League. And today we're going to be reviewing the 2021 NFL schedule, going through all 18 weeks, and we're each going to be picking 2 to 3 of our favorite games of that week, and maybe which ones will be the most interesting and most viewed. Basically, the ones that if you're going to pick one game to watch, we're going to tell you which one that we think you should watch if you want to enjoy some football on Sunday. So let's go ahead and get things started with week one, and we're gonna start things off with me. I have the Dallas Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as one of my best games for week one, just for the sole purpose of it's week one, it's opening week. I don't care who the Bucs are gonna play, Brandon. They could have literally been playing the Jets, and I would say this is one of the games that you need to watch. So Cowboys at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I also have the Jags at the Texans. Now, us being Jaguar fans, I'm not going to be too biased and pick them every week, but Trevor Lawrence's debut, so that's why I have that as a must-watch game, and as well as the Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs, obviously, Super Bowl contenders, and the Browns, believe it or not, I mean, they are probably Super Bowl contenders as well. If they have a good offense, a great defense, and I just think this is going to probably be the match of the opening weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree with you with the Browns in Kansas City. That's a tough game. That was a playoff game last year. Go for Henny for getting the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl because of him. Um, for me, one of the most interesting games. I don't know if it'll be the best game. New York versus Carolina. Um, I just think Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, that whole drama and everything like that. I think Sam Darnold is going to want to blow up New York on the very first week. Him and Robbie Anderson will connect for like 3 touchdowns, and we'll go from there. That's interesting for that. Another good game to watch out for is New England and Miami. That's always a good game. Miami always ruins New England seasons a couple years ago. It's at New England, so we'll see how it goes. But this should be a defensive showdown. Maybe Miami will pull out, but and then Dallas Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Bucks should be a good game. It'll be a good test for Dallas if their defense is anything this year. But I think those are the clear ones. Not really Baltimore and Las Vegas for Monday night. I guess because Vegas got a new stadium, things like that. Ticket prices are ridiculous. But I'm not interested. Baltimore should handle that game pretty easily on Monday night.
Yep, and also you also had the Rams on Sunday night. I think it's more so they both had Sunday night, and Monday night home opener, just for the fact that last year was COVID, no fans were there, so it's kind of like they're introducing the new stadium this way.
Exactly. That's why the Rams and the Raiders got a lot of primetime games because of that.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so let's go to week two.
So week two, we're going to start things off with me again. I have the Los Angeles Rams at the Indianapolis Colts. I think with Carson Wentz with the Colts, I think they can go right back to the playoffs just like they were last year with Philip Rivers. Obviously, I think they still need pieces on offense, but defensively, I think this could be a defensive showdown with the Rams and the Colts. Both have great defenses, so that's why I said Rams at Colts. Titans at Seahawks. Obviously, Seahawks are always going to be mentioned as a game to watch just because of Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. And then you also got Derrick Henry for the Titans. So, Derrick Henry versus, Seahawks offense, that's going to be an interesting battle. And then as well as you got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens, which should be an offensive showdown like it usually is. And I think for the past 2 years, they've actually played in, if I'm not mistaken, in Baltimore. I think the Chiefs have beaten them quite handily both times.
Yeah, Chiefs have owned the Ravens last couple of years, even with Lamar Jackson being there. This might be one of the best weeks, I think, overall for matchups. There's a lot of good games. I also like the Dallas Cowboys and the Chargers. I think that could be like a 42-40 game. There's no defense on either side. Both are going to be heavy pass, just wanting to put up numbers. So I think that one's just going to be an absolute shootout that will come down to like whoever doesn't score will be the end up loser. So if you like shootouts, I think that one's going to be really good. Bills Dolphins. I Anything with Buffalo is probably going to be exciting this year, and then Miami also. That division is going to be very good. So that's an important game for divisional purposes. Buffalo, Miami. Miami starts off with New England and Buffalo. So if they start off 2-0 here, they have a very clear shot at winning that division. So that's also a key game just for playoff implications all the way in week two. So that's another game that I'm looking forward to. And again, the Monday night, it looks like Aaron Rodgers is probably going to play for Green Bay. I think that's just what's going to happen. I don't think he's going to retire. I don't think he's going to get traded. That's for sure. He'll retire, I think, before he gets traded. So if anything, I especially if Aaron Rodgers is not on that team, I don't want to see Jordan Love versus Jared Goff. So Monday night again is kind of a stinker for 2 weeks in a row.
Yep, I agree. And then also before we continue, I mean, when I was looking at the schedule, I was like, there's probably got to be 1 or 2 weeks where it's like, obviously, we're always going to watch the Jags and you as well as the Jags and Eagles for you. But I mean, looking at every week, I think there's at least one key matchup, which is super rare, when you really look at the schedule. So I think this year is going to be really exciting, though.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like, we're going to watch every Jags game, but
Yeah.
Jags versus Denver is by no means the most exciting game on this week 2.
For Jags fans, it probably is, but for other fans, they could care less.
I mean, we could be 2-0, so that's as important as possible. But just overall point of view, like, that's not the most interesting game as you can find on this list.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we're talking about here. Like, obviously, we're going to watch the Jags, but if we're not watching the Jags or it's NFL Red Zone, which ones are we going to be paying attention to? Also, fantasy purposes and everything like that.
All right, so week 3, there's actually a lot of good matchups here. I have the Chargers at Chiefs as one of the key matchups. You got Justin Herbert versus Patrick Mahomes. Can Justin Herbert take that next step and potentially overtake the Chiefs in the AFC West? I highly doubt it, but definitely should be an offensive battle. I also have the Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers. I think that's a key matchup. And then also for me, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Los Angeles Rams as my other key matchup for week 3.
For me, we finally get a good Monday night. We get Eagles and Dallas. We get that rivalry. Should be a high scoring game. So I'm looking forward finally on Monday night. Stay up late for that one. Unless it's an absolute blowout, which you never know with Eagles or Dallas at this point. I like the Cardinals and Jags. Let's talk about that. I think that could be pretty much a good game to watch as well. Kyler Murray and Trevor Lawrence. I think the Jags are going to be actually very well on offense this year, especially if they get someone like Zach Ertz or one of those tight ends, David Njoku. Throw in the names of all the guys that have been rumored around. I think the Jags will probably be 2-0 at this point, and if they beat the Cardinals here, start off 3-0, that will be a huge boost. So I actually have that as a game to watch for this, not just as Jags fans, but I think overall people are going to want to see Kyler Murray versus Trevor Lawrence.
I agree 100%. Speaking of the Eagles, I'm so weird when I look at the schedule. Usually Eagles have 4 or 5 primetime games. This year they only have 2, that Monday night and a Thursday night game, which I think NFL finally like, all right, we're going to try not to put bad teams on primetime. Like, the Jets got 1, Jags got 1.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think the Eagles are actually going to be pretty good. I think they got riddled with injuries, but I don't by any means think that they're deserving of more than a handful of primetime games.
Yeah.
And so we'll move on now to week 4.
Week 4, and we are going to start things off with the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. I think this can be an awesome matchup. I just think for Jags fans, but also like college fans that, they just tune in. They don't really care about the NFL. They more so just tune in, just to watch certain players. You got the best college quarterback last year in Joe Burrow. Trevor Lawrence, arguably the best college quarterback since Peyton Manning. Should be a great showdown. Both number 1 overall picks. I also have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Green Bay Packers. I think that can be an interesting battle. Ben Roethlisberger versus Aaron Rodgers, basically 2 quarterbacks where their time is, dwindling down, so to speak. And then also the big game of week 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New England Patriots, the return of the GOAT, Tom Brady. We'll see if he gets a standing ovation or not, or if he gets booed, mixed reactions. Who knows? But those ticket prices are like Super Bowl tickets, but that definitely should be an interesting game. And believe it or not, I think that might end up being one of the most watched games, regular season games in NFL history.
It has to be. I mean, look at the ticket prices are right now at $979. I couldn't imagine what people are going to start selling that for a week before the game. Like, we're going to see those ridiculous numbers where someone's going to pay like $5,000 for a ticket. Like, that's going to happen. So if you got tickets, you're probably going to make you can probably get your whole season tickets worth just if you got this ticket. But yeah, that's easily the most exciting game of the schedule. I think, like, everybody wants to see that matchup, Belichick versus Brady. This will be the only time we'll ever get to see it. It was interesting. I watched a thing talk about the schedule, how they made the schedule, how the NFL goes through it. It's on YouTube. It's a pretty good watch. You kind of go into depth of how they make the schedule. And this was one of the games they talked about of, like, this will be a primetime game. They just wanted to figure out what week they want it to be on, and they have algorithms that go through literally millions of options, and they felt like this was the best matchup. And I kind of like it because New England, it had to be in New England, and it's don't want it to be a snowy game. You want
Well,
that to
also,
be a good weather game, so that way it's nice.
yeah, also you don't want to put that late in the season because you don't know how New England's going to be this year. They could be good, they could be bad, but you don't want to risk it. So you want to go and at least make
Exactly.
sure. At worst, New England's probably sitting at least 1-2 heading into week 4. So
And let's be honest, you don't want Brady hurt. You want Brady to play that game. You don't
yep,
want Brady because Father Time will catch up to Brady at some point. You don't want that to be week 12 and he gets hurt week 11 because of the strain of the NFL schedule. Week 4 should be all ready to go. That's the most interesting game of this whole week. I don't care what you say or what fan you are. Everybody's going to be watching this game.
I agree.
All right, let's go down to week 5.
Week 5 actually has a lot of good games in my opinion. I mean,
There's a lot of good games this year.
yeah,
Like
I mean, you
you're going
got
to see a
Rams at
lot of
Seahawks. I
yep,
mean,
yep.
that's obviously a playoff rematch divisional game. Russell Wilson versus the Rams defense. That should be good. You got 49ers at Cardinals, once again, divisional game. And then you got the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. This should be an offensive showdown, in my opinion. Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes, two of the best arms in the NFL. So definitely should be that should be the game of the week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I also like the Browns versus the Chargers. I'm very high on the Chargers this year. I think the Chargers will be a playoff team. I think Justin Herbert's going to take them to the next level. I like their coach. I like everything about the Chargers. Their defense needs some work, but when healthy with Derwin James, you got Bosa, you got Ingram. They got a linebacker. I can't remember the name. Murray that played pretty well for them last year. So the Chargers starting to fill out their defense. Their offense can be legit against the Cleveland Browns, who are hyped this year. So we'll see how it goes with that. I also like the Colts and Ravens.
Yeah, that should
They've
be
always
going.
been fighting each other in the playoffs recently, and I think that will be a very good Monday Night Football game as well. So we're starting to finally get some primetime games that I think will start being interesting to watch as well.
And
Because
as
yeah,
well, I
this
think
is one of the most loaded weeks I think for a good matchup wise.
yep. And then speaking of prime time, I believe, it used to be like week 8, 9 is when it used to be able to flex games. Now they can actually start flexing. I believe it's like week 5 or something like that, week 6. So you can definitely start seeing games get flexed to either Sunday night. And now they used to not be able to flex Monday night. I believe
Yeah,
it's either this year or next year they're going to actually start where you can flex to Monday night. So that definitely
which
should be.
which is which is great. That's how it should
Yeah.
be. No one wants to
Yeah.
see like the New York Giants versus like Houston Texans Monday Night Football. Like no one's gonna watch that.
Yeah.
Like except for unless you're a Giants or a Houston. Other than that, it's just like eh. But I would tune into the Colts and Baltimore because that could be two teams that are playoff teams, and that sounds like a good game.
Absolutely. So we're going to go on to week 6. There are 2 games in week 6 that definitely stand out to me. The first one is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Washington football team. I really do. I think Washington probably has the top 5 defense, arguably top 3. See how they can handle this, high-powered Chiefs offense. Chiefs will probably come out with a win, but I definitely think this could be a very interesting game. Also had the Chargers at the Ravens. Justin Herbert versus Lamar Jackson definitely should be an interesting game. So those are definitely 2 matchups that stand out to me.
Yeah, there's some good games. You got Green Bay and Chicago, which is always a tough fight, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter how bad Chicago is. That game for some reason it's always tough division games. What's another one I had here? Week 6, Cardinals and Browns. Again, 2 teams that some people are putting that this could be a Super Bowl matchup. So you never know that could happen with this. Don't. I mean, it's hard to bet against the Chiefs and like the Bucks this year, but you could see an Arizona Cleveland matchup in the Super Bowl, so this could be a precursor to that. That's a good game. Buffalo, Tennessee is going to be a good like. The schedule is looking very nice. What I also think is interesting, we already have 4 teams with bye weeks by week 6 in a 17-game schedule. I think those teams are going to get kind of screwed
Yeah,
because they're going to have to go into the end of they're going to have to play 11 straight games basically, and if they're banged up they get no time to recover or anything like that. So I definitely do not want a bye week early in a 17 game schedule, and week 6 is pretty early even when there was only 16 games. So
I,
I think
I agree.
these Atlanta, New Orleans, New York, and San Francisco, they got their work cut out because that is an early bye for 17 games. Week
All right,
7.
so week 7, it's a few games that stand out to me. Kansas City Chiefs at the Tennessee Titans. Once again, Patrick Mahomes versus Derrick Henry. That's like the headline for that week. You know, I believe in 2019 it was the AFC Championship game. So we'll see the Titans match up against the Chiefs. I also have the Indianapolis Colts at the San Francisco 49ers. I think that should be an interesting game as well. And then my other one is the Washington football team at the Green Bay Packers. Like I talked about on the previous week, Washington, great defense going against Aaron Rodgers. See how they can control Aaron Rodgers. They actually did pretty good in the playoffs, I believe, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Brady. So we will see what happens there. But those are definitely my 3 marquee matchups.
Yeah, to me, this might be the most boring week of football. Jags are on. They got their bye week after the international game, um, and I don't know. Like these matchups aren't doing anything for me personally. I think there's going to be a lot of blowouts this week. Um, so we'll see. There's always going to be that surprise game. The Colts in San Francisco probably jumps out for Sunday Night Football. That'll probably be a good game. But other than that, I'm not seeing anything. Maybe Cincinnati could pull an upset off against Baltimore at Baltimore with Joe Burrow. But other than that, I'm not excited about the Rams versus Detroit, Arizona versus Houston, Miami, Atlanta, New England, like Carolina, New York. Like nothing. This will be an NFL red zone day for sure. I just want to see the scoring because
if you're planning on going on vacation, this is the week right here to pick.
Yes, Jags are gone. It's not great. It's going to be if all football is good to watch. I would watch football every day if I could, but this is the week where it's like, okay, you want to go do something with your kids or your wife or just whatever you want to do. Like this is the week to plan for that. Week 8.
So week 8, we got for me one game that stands out is the Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals. I think this should be a great matchup. Aaron Rodgers versus Kyler Murray, and the other one is the Jacksonville Jaguars at Seattle Seahawks. Let's see how Trevor Lawrence can go toe to toe with Russell Wilson. So those are definitely the two games I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back real quick. I wrote it down, but I want to make sure I'm right because we may have some that I haven't seen in a while. And yes, it is correct. In week 8, we're gonna have 2 teams that are both coming off byes, and they're both gonna face each other. With the Minnesota Vikings and Dallas Cowboys, so that could be a good game. Just you don't get too many teams facing off each other, both coming off bye weeks, and that actually happens multiple times this year because of that extra game. So I think that's kind of interesting and something new. I personally can't think of any time that's ever happened. I'm sure it has happened, but I find that as a little interesting thing that could possibly be different for this year. But yeah, Green Bay and Arizona, I think maybe one of the better games to schedule that I personally like.
All right, sounds good. You just want to go ahead and you start with week 9, and I'll go to week 10 so we don't keep all the fans watching for an hour.
Right. All right, so we got week 9 here. I like the Jags in Buffalo. That could be maybe a good game, but this is tough for the Jags. Green Bay and Kansas City could be very good. Aaron Rodgers is there. And again, not digging the Monday night, Pittsburgh and Chicago. Maybe this was one of those games that gets flexed out. Maybe for the Los Angeles, Tennessee. They probably won't do that because NBC, ESPN, but we'll see. Maybe Arizona and San Francisco can get flexed to Pittsburgh, Chicago, or just one of these other games can switch because two fan bases that love each other, love their teams, that will follow their teams, but I don't think they're both going to be good this year. So I think maybe that game could get flexed, but with those two teams being the fan base they are, maybe they won't.
So for week 10, a few games that stand out to me. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Washington. This is a playoff rematch, good defense versus, Bucs offense. Seattle Seahawks at Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson versus Aaron Rodgers. 2 quarterbacks who at one point it seemed like both wanted out of their situations. And then also the Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. Usually the Raiders play the Chiefs pretty tough, it seems like, even every year. So that should be a good matchup, and Raiders probably have a decent shot to upset the Chiefs.
Completely agree with that. Week 11, there was one game that I think was really standing out for me for week 11 was Washington and Carolina. You got the rematch game for Ron Rivera against his former club that let him go. So that will probably have some kind of implications to it. Colts and Bills, will be probably a good game. And the Cardinals and Seahawks got a divisional game, high-powered offenses with Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray, so that could be a good one. Kansas City and Dallas, offensive game completely. And that's really about it for this one. I don't see anything else that is truly like speaking out to me, but those games for me, pretty good week.
So now we are going on to week number 12, and that is also Thanksgiving weekend. I'm not a fan of the Thanksgiving matchup. Chicago at the Lions. Well, I mean, Lions play every year, same as the Cowboys. So still going to watch it on Thanksgiving. It's like a tradition, but not a big fan of the matchups unless all of a sudden both teams turn out to be good. I mean, I guess Raiders, and Cowboys could be good, but the matchups I'm looking forward to is the Rams at the Packers. Once again, playoff. There are a lot of playoff rematches this year, especially in the NFC side. You also got the Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens. That right there could be playoff implications. Who's potentially either maybe win the division. I think it's going to be between the Browns and Ravens who wins the AFC North. And then also you got the Seattle Seahawks at the Washington football team. Russell Wilson going against a good Washington defense. Should be a great battle.
Yeah, 100%. That Cleveland-Baltimore game, the AFC tight. So you could have implications that maybe one of those teams doesn't make the wild card because there's going to be some wild card teams that are really going to be fighting for it. So now we go to week 13. For this, I like the Patriots. I like the Monday night game, Patriots in Buffalo. I think that'll be a tight game. December, it could start snowing there in Buffalo, and that would give New England a heavy advantage with a run game. So could see an upset there with New England over Buffalo with playoff implications. Hopefully, Jags beat the Rams. Can give it to Ramsey, and the Rams spend all their money that they gave out $100 million contracts like it's candy. So would love to see that win. What else do I like? I like the Chargers and Bengals with Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow. I'm sure Justin Herbert wants to beat the guy that was picked above him pretty badly. So I think that could also be a good matchup for that.
I agree 100%. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if I had to make a prediction, I would say Justin Herbert is going to end up being the better quarterback out of that draft class.
Especially if he stays healthy. But Joe Burrow, that scar on his knee is very visible. That was a very bad injury that he took.
So now we're in week 14. Two games that stand out to me is the Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals divisional game. This right now could be getting towards the end of the season, playoff implications. Who's going to win division? Who's going to get a wild card spot? I mean, this could really come down to, who makes it, who doesn't. Then also the Buffalo Bills at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Josh Allen versus Tom Brady. Two high-powered offenses, in my opinion, and there should be an absolute showdown.
Yeah. I also like Jags Tennessee here just because let's see if the Jags can beat Tennessee at Tennessee this year. I think this is our year to do it, if there ever was a year. So hopefully that game can happen. And it's not Thursday night for once, so you get something different.
Derrick Henry should not run 500 yards on us Thursday night, so that's good.
Hopefully not. Not with Urban's defensive line that he's been hammering about. Okay, so now week 15, Kansas City Chargers automatically for Thursday night. That should actually be a good Thursday night matchup. I'm not really feeling anything else. Maybe the Packers in Baltimore will probably be a good game. Seattle, Los Angeles will probably be a good game, in New England and Indianapolis. I know that we probably keep saying the same teams over and over, but those are the good teams this year. And when you want to watch football, you want to watch the good teams. You don't want to watch really Detroit. Like, I get if you're a Lions fan, but you got to kind of be honest, like, no one really wants to watch the Lions this year if you're not a Lions fan. But I would watch Seattle versus Los Angeles. Maybe if Jameis Winston can get a revenge game against the Bucs, that could be kind of interesting. He's probably going to be the starter over Taysom Hill, will probably still be the gadget guy. So if Jameis Winston can light up Tampa Bay, I think that could get some ratings as well. New Orleans got a lot of primetime games this year. I don't really know why. Maybe because Drew Brees is gone. I don't know, but they got like one of the most, I think 5 or 6 primetime games. It was pretty ridiculous.
So now we are week 16. The Cleveland Browns at Green Bay Packers. I think this, Browns playoff team, Packers playoff team should be. Is this even a primetime game? No, it's on Saturday because it's Christmas Day. So that Christmas special, that's a great game. Browns at Packers. Unwrap some presents, watch some Browns Packers football. Should be a good one. I also have the Steelers at the Chiefs. It's kind of like a historic, showdown sort of between two teams that's love playing in the cold. So definitely, you got Pittsburgh Steelers, Big Ben at the Kansas City Chiefs. Basically, the old guy versus the young buck. That should be a decent matchup.
Yeah, 100% agree. Pretty good Christmas Day lineup. I would say that's pretty solid.
Can't
If you
complain.
watch the NBA too, NBA always has good games on Christmas Day. So Christmas will be a very good sports day this year for sure. Go to week 17. We're coming near the end of the season. I think Jags Patriots will be a good game. I'm hoping that this is a game the Jags could win. That would be a very big statement. I think if they win this game, I think they're probably close to the playoff contention. So always going to put that there. Cleveland and Pittsburgh will probably be a good game. That's always a good game. Cleveland's going to want to stomp Pittsburgh for sure. Cardinals and Cowboys should be offensive game like crazy. Not too many other playoff implications. Maybe Philadelphia and Washington. They could be fighting for it. Washington probably has the edge in this game just because their defense is so good. So, but this could possibly be a playoff. But week 18, I think, is set up perfectly for what the NFL wants. Tyler, you can talk about that one where I think you have a lot of playoff implications in this week.
I mean, yeah, you got the Colts at the Jags. I mean, as a Jags fan as well as yourself, we might be a little biased when we say that the Jags have a very good shot, winning anywhere from 7 to 10 games. So this could definitely have either, division title on line or just even the 7th seed in the playoffs. Just, something like that for the Jaguars. So I could definitely see the Colts and Jags. That definitely is a prime matchup, at least for, AFC South fans. You also have the 49ers at the Rams. That could honestly come down to, division title, playoff spot. And also the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, at the Denver Broncos. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but the Chiefs probably going to be resting their starters. Broncos finally getting healthy again on defense. And, if Teddy Bridgewater is playing over Drew Lock, who I think he should, Teddy Bridgewater, I think, he's not very good, but I think he's very underrated. I think he can sustain a team to at least be somewhere around 500. So, and especially they have some good offensive pieces there. So, I think that could be an interesting matchup. I think week 18 is usually, whether it's good team versus bad team, it's all divisional games. So they're all going to be usually tough and all going to be close. And they're usually all exciting in a sense for, if you're watching your team play.
Yeah, 100%. Looking forward to week 18. There's going to be some teams that are going to go into the playoffs this year because of this week. There's some teams that are going to get cut. So those games will probably be most interesting ones to watch. And hopefully these 425s has some instincts. I remember was a few years ago with the Bills where all players were in the locker room watching one of the other games go down and the upset happened. They got the chance to go to the playoffs. I believe that's the year that we beat them.
Yep.
So dreams crushed next week, but hey, during that week, nothing better seeing an upset happen and another team gets in. So looking forward to week 18. But that's the schedule. And Sunday, January 9th, which is crazy to think that we're ending in January now.
And I believe the Super Bowl is like the February 12th or 13th, something like that this year.
It's only like a month. It's really going to be jam-packed with the playoffs this year.
I mean, I'm kind of cool with it too because then you have literally 4 weeks later and then all of a sudden free agency starts. So it's
the NFL is really starting to dominate the
year round
now. They're not giving any more breaks. It's going to be this is the only downtime really is between now and August. But even then there's news. We got the Tebow news. There's other signings that are happening. You got rookie mini camps.
Yeah.
So there's always news, but definitely the NFL's trying to just make it a year-round sport, which it already kind of is, but more actual action happening.
I agree 100%. But overall, that was our schedule review, picking some of our favorite matchups to watch, as well as, giving suggestions of which games we think you guys should watch if you, don't know who to watch, especially if you don't have a favorite team. But we're going to go ahead and leave our Twitter link in the description below. Definitely go follow us on Twitter, as well as some other social media. But other than that, thanks for watching, and go Jags.